One. All right, this week on the latest edition of The Big Show, LeBron James headlines the latest version of Space Jam, A New Legacy, and hip hop has lost yet another pioneer with the death of the Diabolical One, the clown prince of hip hop, Biz Markie. Longtime friend, colleague, and frequent show contributor Kevin Chill Hurd will share his memories of his time with the BIZ. Plus, Wilson Morales will join Charles Kirkland Jr. and I as we discuss the rest of the week in entertainment. And we'll have all that on episode 463 of Keeping It Real with FilmGordon. Let's go. All right, and welcome to the latest episode of Keeping It Real with FilmGordon. I am Tim Gordon, and I am joined by Charles Kirkland Jr. Charles, how are you?
I'm just a friend today. Just a friend.
That's good. All right, I got you. And also Wilson Morales of blacktvandfilm.com. Wilson,
just for record, it's blackfilmandtv.com.
All right, thank you, Wilson. Wilson is just real agitated today. I don't know what it is, man.
Correct, in case the audience wants to look it up, and they say I can't find.
What did I say?
You said Black TV and Film.
Oh, dang. Yeah, that would be wrong. From blackfilmandtv.com, Wilson Morales. And joining us in Cleveland is a good friend of our show. I'm sorry. Joining us from the land is my man, Kevin Chill Hurd. Kevin, welcome to the show, man.
What's going on, Tim? Good to always be with you, bro, even though it's under these circumstances.
Well, bro, I reached out to you, man, because we got the news last night, man, about the passing of Biz Markie. You and I had talked about this when you were on the show, about 6 or 7 months ago?
Right, we had a holiday show.
Yeah, and we were talking then at that point that, Biz wasn't doing well. And, I think you had talked about either doing the show or after the show that you would get in touch with Vaughn, right, or better known as Cool V to people.
Cutmaster Cool V.
Cutmaster Cool V. So, man, I thought about you immediately. Well, actually, what I like when we talked on the phone, the two people I thought about immediately were you and Big Daddy Kane. And I wanted to hear your thoughts and you have them share, and also let the audience know that you have not said anything, man, since the announcement of the passing of Biz Markie, man. So we're getting your exclusive right now, man. Right.
I mean, a lot of people everybody knows how close Biz and I were, and a lot of people, especially in Cleveland, a lot of people met Biz through me. Even in New York, some people met Biz through me. And so everybody's reaching out to me. I have stuff all on my Facebook page, but I haven't done anything as of yet to acknowledge the situation. So this is my first time. And as you know, Tim, Biz was my dude, man. One of my first and closest friends in hip hop, me being an outsider, coming from Cleveland, going to New York City on an iconic New York City hip hop label, Fever Records, the club of the iconic Club Fever, basically the original home of hip hop in the South Bronx. And so I was an outsider in New York, and Biz was one of the first dudes to befriend me, and that was before he had reached the level of stardom. We talking like 85, so we talking about when Biz was Roxanne Shantae's beatbox. So he hadn't made any of those songs of note back then. But even as he gained more fame, we still were in contact. He come to my house, and I'm at my mother's house right now, as I told you. He's been over my mom's house asking her to fix him some food, and my mom like, man, I'm not a damn cook up in here. My mother in the background like, I didn't tell that boy that. Yeah, my mama said, yes, he did. She said he wanted some greens. What'd you tell him, Ma? She said, I ain't making greens. But anyhow, yeah, no, Biz is my dude, man. Me and Biz been in fights together. I always laugh when he called me, say, Chill, yo, you gotta hear this song. He would always, every time he had a new song out or was about to rock a new song, he would call me and let me hear it. And every time it was something like extra suspicious about the song. And he called me about the song Picking Boogers. I was like, you really doing that? and one of his original joints, hey man, the light behind me, it needs to be back over here. That's causing it. Anyhow, so yeah, if you can put that right here. Well, I got my mom as tech. Look at that, my mom on technical. But he called me, one of his first cuts. He was like, yo, man, check this. And he on the phone. I want to. I want to. And I'm like, okay, well, what's the beats? What? He like, no, that's the beat. That's how. I'm like, okay.
He's always suspicious.
So, but Tim, he called me. He said, chill, this one's it. So he called me up. Song, it got some lyrics. Then all of a sudden, I mean, he breaking down about how he met this girl named blah, blah, blah. Literally, the girl's name was blah, blah, blah. Check the song. That's just about me improvising a name. No, that's in the song. Her name is blah, blah, blah. Then all of a sudden, he broke with, you got what I need. And I'm like, yo, okay, you getting TJ Swan to sing that hook? He was like, no. I'm like, you getting some girls or something to sing? He was like, no, I'm singing it like that. I'm like, Biz, I don't think that's gonna work out for you, King. And good thing he didn't listen to me. That's the song that he's known for. That song is recognizable worldwide. But he would always call me up, man, and anytime he was in town, we'd hook up. Or if I was on the East Coast, I'd call him in and we'd hook up. Really good dude, man. Even as his fame grew, he was my dude. Whenever I show up, he was on tour with the House of Blues DJing. If I was in the house, he'd shout me out, bring me up. Man, always a good dude. And if anybody knows Biz is watching this, it's not just me. Biz is like that friendly type of dude. Everybody is Biz's best friend. Anybody that ever met Biz is like, yo, that was my dude. That was like my best friend. That's the kind of dude that he was, man.
Man, I'm laughing because in your description, you said every time they would call you with a song, it would always sound suspicious. And I'm assuming you're correct because without hearing the benefit of what the beat was or anything else other than just Biz kind of laying it out, it would sound Picking Boogers.
Man, you heard Biz singing. You heard Biz singing, you got what I need. Man, that sounds crazy as hell, right? If it wasn't a famous song and somebody said, oh, I'm singing this hook on my song, you're like, dude, your singing skills is not that fresh. Lightweight horrible. But that's Biz's charm, man. That was his charm. That was his unique, authentic charm. And big up to his cousin Cool V, who has told the story that he made the call. We riding with that version of the song. Despite everybody at the record company, like, man, y'all must be out of y'all's damn mind. And so big ups to Cool V, for saying no, we staying with this version. So
man, we got about 6 minutes left, Chill. So
I got about 2 minutes on my phone power, but go ahead.
Well, thank you. Well, before we lose you, I want to talk a little bit about Big Daddy Kane, who I told you was the other person I thought of, who you talk about. The reason why we even know who Big Daddy Kane is because of what Biz Markie did for him, putting him on. Talk a little bit and share that story with the audience.
Well, the reason we got introduced to Kane off the song Just Rhyming with Biz. And you hear Biz on the cut, and then you hear Kane. Well, it's the Kane in the flesh. Of course I'm fresh. So, that's the first time we ever heard Big Daddy Kane. And, Biz sent me the record, and I started rocking it, and it hit all over the country, and people were introduced to this dude, Big Daddy Kane. It was Biz's song, and Biz, that was part of his plan. That's how he was putting people on. And, that led to the creation of one of the greatest hip hop MCs that we ever had, one of the GOATs, certainly on a majority of people's top 5. But And Flat Tie, the owner of Cold Chillin' Records, I remember that it was such a demand for Kane in Cleveland because of that record. When I told Ty that he was coming down, and he was like, "How do people even know Big Daddy Kane?" I'm like, "From the Just Rhyming with Biz song." He was like, "Man, we ain't even got Kane under contract. Like Kane he ain't going anywhere until I sign him." So I whenever I get a chance, I tell Kane I was the reason he got signed to his record deal, because I was having him come to Cleveland to rock. And Cold Chillin' Records was like, "Oh, we got to sign that cat like right now before this gets too big." But but Kane will tell the story that Biz put him on, and I don't think that's a secret. But then that was part of Biz's forward thinking of getting people on. So using his juice to hook up other people, especially somebody who needed to be on, like the Big Daddy, Kane.
And that's a great segue. No, I was gonna say that's a great segue, man. We talked about him being an original Juice Crew member. We also have looked at all these different tributes. I just watched one before we got on the air with LL, who said that Biz was actually in his basement when he did "Rock the Bells," the actual song. Everybody, and to your point, everybody in hip hop, man, is mourning the loss of this dude in ways that they didn't mourn. And not to say that, every individual is different, right? But Biz is a person, man, from what we call the golden era, that 80s era of hip hop, man. So there are a lot of people who are feeling his loss today, despite the fact that he had a career that probably had like maybe 10 charting tracks. But he was Biz. He was a DJ. Wilson talks about how, and I guess I'm not going to speak for Wilson. Wilson will speak about it a little bit, about being at events where Biz was a DJ. I've ran into Biz in like the most unlikely place, which was a supermarket, where I'm like, what the hell? Why, Biz, why are you in the damn supermarket?
Right.
So, Biz is Biz, man. So I guess my final question to you is, you talked about him being a friendly dude. Why do you think there's this kind of, to quote Vision from WandaVision, that grief is love persevering? Why is love so persevering for Biz Markie right now?
Yeah, I think that because people's idea and thought, Biz had like a childlike, he's a grown-ass man, but he had like a childlike quality to him that was endearing to everybody he met. So everybody that ever met Biz, and I think it transcended into his music. Whenever you would see him, he always seemed like a big kid, just somebody you could really love. This is a good dude, genuinely. And like his songs, like, he has the one iconic, but real hip hop heads, they dig in other songs, the Vapors and all kinds of stuff. But and plus as a DJ, he was the go-to DJ for many years, even up until his health failed him. You had Biz as your DJ to your event. You had a for real event. But he was just that kind of brother, man. And I can only imagine if he was that kind and cool with me, somebody from Cleveland, Ohio, people that saw him probably on a more regular basis. I can only imagine, the love and the loss that they're feeling right now. Because, man, this is, like I said, man, Biz, I will probably go on probably in a day or so after, I let things settle and tell some really crazy Biz stories where we out in the streets fighting with people. I had one Friday the 13th story with Biz, this incredible. But yeah, man, it's a loss. Hip hop has a loss today of one of the good ones. But we will forever have his music, as memories of him and stories of everybody that ever knew Biz.
Chill, I want to thank you, bro, for coming on, man. And I know it hurts right now, bro. I probably will reach out to you after we get off the air to check on you. But thank you for coming on, man, and sharing these stories. Wilson, I think, has his finger up.
No, I want to say I actually went to the latest Power premiere, and it was set, the whole point was to set it in the 90s, and Big Daddy Kane performed. So interesting, like he performed, the other day, and to hear your story about how he came up through Biz, it's interesting.
Hey, real quick, sometimes Biz will call me, and I didn't believe it was Biz, and we would go through. I would have the Biz quiz, so I would ask him these obscure questions. I would ask him these obscure questions that only Biz Markie would know, or that he would answer readily. He'd be like, "Yo, chill, it's me." I'm like, "Who? When Reagan was the president, you voted for who?" He was like, "Shirley Chisholm." So yeah, I asked him about like who's Gilbert O'Sullivan. He was like the dude that wouldn't let me put the record out because of the sample.
The Biz quiz.
The Biz, I'd give him the Biz quiz.
Bro,
he said, "Give me more. Give me." After I said, "Okay," he'd be like, "No, give me some more questions."
Bro,
that's what.
Before he's fading out, so you got
to. We losing you, bro. But I want to thank you for coming on. If you can't hear me, chill. I'll check back with you after the show, man. So that is Kevin Chill Hurd, who is frozen in a state of disbelief right now. Bruh, peace, man. I'm gonna get up with you, man. Take care, man.
Don't be a stranger, Kev.
Send me your address. I can send you a charger. No.
I'll be seeing you, Wilson. We out.
Wilson Morales, boy.
Wilson, don't come to the land.
What is going on with Wilson today, bro?
I see Wilson in the land. All right.
Kevin.
Take care, chill.
All right, peace.
Peace, man. Man, Wilson Morales is just downright feisty today, man. What is happening, Charles?
I don't know what's going on over there, but you need to get out of that house.
You ain't lying, man. So, hey, man. So here we are back to the show. Wilson Morales normally starts our show letting us know what's going on in entertainment. So I thought it was important to honor the life and legacy of Biz Markie to start our show. But Wilson, break down what's going on. I'm sorry, it just got really dark. Look, it just got really dark.
I think Wilson was upset that he got bumped. So he's a little sour this morning.
No, I'm saying it just got really dark in the studio. It's getting ready to rain real hard. That's why I was like, hey, what happened?
Pouring cats and dogs right now in New York City.
Well, go ahead, Wilson. What's going on in entertainment this week, man?
Well, you got to create things happen. Now, obviously, playing in theaters as well as HBO Max is Space Jam: A New Legacy, which is a follow-up to 1996's Space Jam, which starred Michael Jordan. This one stars LeBron James. Interesting. It's directed by Malcolm D. Lee, who gave us Scares Trip and Best Man. And I saw a report earlier that Space Jam is actually doing well in the theaters as a family film. Usually these family films is, not everybody's taking out a family to go see movies in theaters, and they rather save the money and see it at home. But apparently it's going to gross in the 3-day period a little over $30 million, which is pretty good. So that's in theaters right now. You have coming out on Sunday night the new Power Book 3, Raising Kanan, which is the story of how Kanan, which was played by 50 Cent, how he became the man who he was character-wise, and it's set back in the early 90s. And so you got new characters. The only characters you remember is Kanan and Jukebox, which is played by Nika Noni Rose, but you're seeing the younger versions of them on the screen. So that's what's out there right now. I'm trying to think what else is playing in theaters. Black Widow's still out in theaters. You still got Fast 9. I think what's doing well, like the blockbusters, the independent films. They have its audiences here and there. That's coming out. That's happening. I just recently read that Michael B. Jordan they're going to go back and try to do the Thomas Crown Affair.
Oh my God! Stop remaking movies, man. Make new movies. Stop it. Dang.
It really is to the point. Think about it. Talking about remake. I get a news break every week about who they just cast in the remake of House Party. you know, and
which we talked about. Well, I never talked about it on air, but I actually had Warrington Hudlin, which found that to be very interesting, considering that he and his brother made the original, and like nobody's calling me for that. Y'all just want to remake it. I'm still alive. I'm still here. Same thing with Uptown Saturday Night. Richard Wesley is very much alive, who wrote that one. Do anybody checking in on all of these quote unquote remakes, Wilson?
I don't know. You know, the thing is, I'm trying to remember like what urban remake has been successfully done? What urban remake?
Candyman.
We don't know yet.
I was being funny, Wilson.
Okay.
Candyman.
You know, also what's out there is an independent film called Can You Bring It? Bill T. Jones and a D-Man. It's a documentary about Bill T. Jones, who's I don't think everybody knows, but it is famously known. Yes, you know, famously known in the dance community. But this is a documentary about him and his signature piece that he put together, and it's directed by one of his proteges, Rosalind LeBlanc, co-directed by her. And basically, it tells the story of who Bill T. Jones is, and how he started up, and how he came to have his signature piece, and how he continues to teach, and how that piece is being shown all over the world. And so we're getting the dance community, because coming out next week is Ailey, the story of Alvin Ailey. So like, it's interesting, like their stories are being told. Obviously Alvin Ailey's passed, but Bill T. Jones is still alive. So it's good to hear these stories now while they're still alive. Playing on Netflix is a documentary on Naomi Osaka. I haven't seen it yet, so I don't know what aspects of her life they're talking about. I don't think they're including what recently happened where she bowed out of the French Open, and they probably talking about, from childhood to up to now. And on BET is season 2 of First Wives Club. I think it's on BT Plus. So that's back there now. So like you don't have a lot playing theaters right now with the exception of Space Jam. And that's what happens during the summer. You're always going to get like one big film, throughout, especially now post-COVID. You're only going to get one big film and see how it does before the next big film comes out.
Right.
And so, with COVID somewhat still lurking around, because as you see in LA, they're back to wearing masks. You never know what's going to do well or not. Yeah. So we're not out of the woods just yet.
All right. So 2 things. I'm going to circle back because I've never shared a story. And when you talked about Bill T. Jones and Ailey being released, I have a story about dance that I think Wilson, more than Charles, would be kind of interested in, because Wilson always swears I'm so old that I have all these stories. But before I get to that, I'm looking at breaking news in Variety that was just dropped a couple of minutes ago. And I mean, I'm only bringing this up because he is a 31-time Black Reel Award nominee and now an Oscar winner, and Spike Lee, who is the he's the head of the jury at the Cannes Film Festival. And whenever something happens and it's bad, trust me, the trades will get it out quick. So Spike Lee made a mistake and accidentally announced the winner of the Palme d'Or before it was supposed to be announced publicly. And it's already in the trade. So I don't know who told, like, man, Spike done already dropped the name, and it is in Variety and Hollywood Reporter right now. And I'm like, y'all wrong for that, man. Why y'all putting Spike on blast like that?
But you know what? When the Oscars decided to shift the awards category earlier this year, so I'm like, that's bigger than Spike Lee. When you're all of a sudden, like, you already know who's winning, best director an hour, and it's like, you're taking it out. Now, Spike Lee making a mistake, okay, and not the end of the world.
No, it's not the end of the world. And I'm saying how petty it is, because they're announcing the winners live now, and Spike made a mistake and announced, I guess, the big prize at the very beginning.
The Palme d'Or has always been a big thing that people, talk about, like, oh, who's going to win it? And when you start off with the little ones, they take their time, up to the very last one. So you basically take the sale out. Now you're announcing the little ones. It's like.
All right. So let me ask you a question for both of you. So if somebody accidentally came to the Academy Awards and at the very beginning of the show and was like, oh, by the way, Moonlight's going to win Best Picture, Would that be a big deal at the beginning of the show?
Yeah, because you're up there.
Okay. Maybe it's watch this. Maybe it's not petty.
It depends on who's saying it. If it's just a presenter who's saying, "Oh, Moonlight is going to win,"
yeah. If there's somebody who doesn't have no inside knowledge, but it's
no,
like,
but I'm saying accidentally at the show, they're announcing the first category and somebody gets the envelope wrong. Let's just say hypothetically that like the very first award of the night is they go, oh, by the way, best picture is this. And everybody goes, why would we know that early? Would that be a big deal?
Well, yes, because knowing that the Oscars is a 3-hour show, if you take that out of the game, and remember, up until the end, there's always, at the end of the day, whether you have 7 nominees, 10 nominees, 5 nominees, there's always legitimately 3 films really in contention. And it's a question of like, there's the favorite and who could do the upset, And so when you announce it that early in advance, then it's a matter of like, now that we know, it kind of takes think about what happened with Moonlight. When they didn't announce it and then they announced it won. It took our emotional response out because we were waiting to hear, and the winner is Moonlight. You'd have been like, yes, first film for an all Black cast, winning Best Picture. But when they announced it, you're like, huh? What just happened? Like you had no emotional response because they took it away.
So wait a minute. So Charles, apparently it was a big deal that Spike messed this Palme d'Or announcement up.
Yeah, because everybody out there,
Of course it was, because they set these things up in an order for a reason. You want to keep the audience intrigued until the end, and if you give away the end at the beginning, it's like a bad movie. I've
never been to Con, but I read enough to know that people always have their opinions of what they think is going to win, and it's never the obvious choice. For the most part, it's never the obvious choice. So whoever won, and I don't know, I didn't read it to know who won and whether or not that was the favorite going in, But at the end of the day, like I said, for what we do and what we cover, like, it ain't no brother film out there.
Wow. All right. Well, let me circle back to the story. So we're in 2021 now. I would guesstimate this happened around 2002, 2003. One day, I've been going to the Kennedy Center for years, watching the Alvin Ailey American Dance every year, and I got invited to some event that the first and probably only time they ever did it. That they had in one room a reception for all the major Black dance companies, in America, right? So. Of course, Alvin Ailey had long passed, but Judith Jamison was there representing Alvin Ailey. Bill T. Jones was still alive. He was there doing his thing. If he's still alive, I'm not sure, but he was alive in the room. Arthur Mitchell from the Dance Theater Harlem was alive and was in the room. Debbie Allen was in the room. So I'm sitting there and it's me and maybe 2 or 3 other journalists. And like, they had us at tables with all these kind of like pioneer dance folks. And at the time, I didn't really understand how big of a deal it was. I was like, they probably do this all the time. They're like, no, this is the first and only time we're probably ever going to do this. And I got to be in a room and talk to Judith Jamison and talk to her about the Dance Theater Harlem, met Arthur Mitchell. Personally, no comment on Dance Theater Harlem. I've gone to their shows. I always got good naps every time I was there. But the fact, it's true. It's true. I'm gonna leave it there because the show is called Keeping It Real, but I love Ailey and still always do. But to think about all these dance, because these were folks from Louisiana, there were folks from Texas. There were like every major dance troupe had a representative at the Kennedy Center that day for this reception. And I look back on it now when, Wilson was talking about Bill T. Jones and of course with Ailey coming out next week, how special of a moment that was. And as journalists, to be perfectly honest, Wilson has called me when he has been in the room for some really, really cool moments. Charles has been around some really, really cool moments. It's a perk of the job that we do, right? We're sometimes in circles with people. There's a famous, Wilson probably will remember this when I bring it up. There was a famous time we were at the Critics' Choice Awards. and there was a famous film that we were really high on, and one of the stars of the film had a little too much to drink and was being very candid with a small group of journalists. Wilson, you know what I'm talking about? At the Critics' Choice Awards?
I've been to so many.
Okay, so wait a minute. And was asking us that he would offer us money because the movie that won that night, he was like, if any of y'all know the plot of this movie, I give each of y'all $50. And Wilson was standing, it was me, you, I think Ivan was with us, and there was a couple of other journalists that were there. But I'm saying we are privy to be in moments like that when we're around stuff that happens that's pretty cool sometimes, that's pretty bizarre other times. It's the nature of being a journalist, and being a journalist, and I'm not trying to say this to sound, superior, but when you get to where we've gotten to, Wilson has been in the game now, what, 25 years, 20 years?
Like maybe a year or two, but no.
Yeah, I've been around close to 30. There are colleagues of ours that have been around, man. So there's stories that you can listen to and tell about stuff we've done or stuff we've witnessed. So I thought that was a really cool moment to bring that all the way back full circle. I think that was a really cool moment. And as time goes by, that moment for me is more magnified because it's like, nobody else has that story of being in a room with all those people at the same time. And I just sort of kind of was like, this happens all the time.
It's kind of funny, you talk about being in the moment, and this goes back to Biz Markie, and I said it earlier, I went to the premiere and the after party for Hitch, the one that starred Will Smith, and I think 2004 it was, that movie? I don't remember, 2005?
It was early 2000, yeah.
And the DJ of that party was Biz Markie. And, even though he's known for his, hip hop fans would know at least more than 5 songs. The rest of the world would know Nobody Beats the Biz, Vapor, and Just a Friend. Pretty much just those 3. Right. Mostly Just a Friend, but Biz had a second career. Well, he had multiple careers, but he also was a well-known, as Kevin mentioned, DJ. And so people would see him, and he wasn't just some DJ playing the music. He was Biz Markie playing, DJ, and who had a song. There aren't that many DJs that had a song, and I saw him there, and then I would see him later on, years later, at San Diego Comic-Con, of all places, when they're highlighting the upcoming films, and Channing Tatum came out to promote a movie he was doing. And in comes, and this is at a stage that seats like 77 to 8,000 people. And in comes Biz Markie, and the whole crowd knows who he is. Now, Comic-Con is like, you get old heads, you get a lot of youngins in there, and they all know Biz Markie. And so he helped, you can find this on YouTube when he showed up at Comic-Con, and everybody starts singing along, Just a Friend. There aren't that many rap songs where you kind of know most of the lyrics, at least the chorus. And that was Biz Markie, until very recently, he was still performing and still DJing. And it's like, there are only but less than 10 DJs, Biz Markie, Kid Capri, D-Nice, who are worldly known, but he was one who had a hit song and continued to work as a DJ.
Yeah, I mean, Charles, what do you got, man, on Biz, man, before we move on?
Well, Biz was here in Baltimore, right? So, I met him one time outside the dealership outside Security Square Mall. I think that was like 1990, 92, somewhere around there.
He got around, man, I swear.
And I mean, it was like Kevin said, you would have thought that he knew me all his life, the way he was talking to me and just cool with me. And I think that's the thing about him. He was just a regular guy. And he just loved life and loved what he was doing. He's like the foundation of the business. I mean, you talk about how he got people on. I mean, if you work with Biz Markie, you were in. And so it was really cool to know. I mean, to see him, to know him. It's a big loss, and I think we lost DMX earlier in the year. This guy is bigger. Much bigger than DMX, and just that but it's like you said, he was an insider to the game. If you knew Biz Markie, he was going to put you in, and so he was just like the foundation, like I said, for hip hop and back in the day. So, and like you said, just a regular guy. I mean, wow. and I think that's what was great about the song "Just a Friend." It wasn't like he was saying, "I'm a singer. I'm the best at it. I'm just a regular dude," and that's what everybody loved about it. I mean, his lyrics were his singing was horrible, but that's just what regular people are. I mean, nobody is a diva, and so that's why everybody fell in love with that song. It's just like, this is just a regular dude singing a song.
Here's the thing. You can't be a bad singer and have a hit song. You really can't. We can joke around.
Look, there you can. Biz couldn't say it, man. I mean, but the thing is the appeal was in the fact that Biz never took himself seriously. I mean, never ever took himself seriously. And even when you listen to Kevin tell the stories and you listen to the songs that Biz made, I woke up this morning watching his videos, and the two songs actually that I really gravitate toward that are Biz songs that I love are Spring Again, where he uses the Back Together Again kind of sample. And that video is hilarious, man, when he's dressing up and all these, playing multiple characters and doing this thing on the golf course, these wigs he wears. Biz never took himself seriously, man. And I think the fact that he was able to laugh at himself let everybody else in on the joke, man. And Just a Friend, I think works because it's like a song that's so unique. You can't name another song that's even structured like Just a Friend, where a guy would sing a hook and like, it's so bad. It's funny we're having this conversation because a good friend of mine and I were talking about this about 2 weeks ago, right? And I was saying that what makes that song so special is that it's a song anybody could sing because Biz wasn't a singer. So it was such a badly sung song. Anybody, even if you're playing around, you could just go, anybody can do that. And that's what I think is the appeal of that song, more so than any other ones, to Wilson's point, why everybody at Comic-Con, everybody, and watch this, Wilson, when they sang it, they all sounded like Biz, didn't they? My point exactly.
Because you know how it goes. It's like certain songs are sang a certain way, and you sing it that way. You have to stretch out that you know what I'm saying?
Wilson,
baby,
y'all both just sound like Biz right there, man. So, but man, let me move on, man, because the big thing I wanted to talk about this week was the release of Space Jam. I got a chance to go to a screening. And Wilson, since he's Wilson, Wilson probably saw this movie 2 years ago, and he's been waiting for this time to let us know. But I got a chance to see this movie, and it's funny because I came back home and immediately what I did, Wilson and Charles, is that I turned on HBO Max and I wanted to watch the first one, right? Because in my mind, I hadn't seen the first one probably in like 20 years. Like, I want to check this thing out again. I'll just start, and it's funny because on our site, Charles and I write the reviews, right? So generally I'll do audio, I'll let Charles do the written review, and sometimes our reviews don't match up. So I was about to post my review the night before the film, and I wanted to do an audio version, and for whatever reason, I couldn't get it to work. So I was like, I'll go to bed and I'll wake up and do it on Friday. And while I was asleep, Charles sent me his review. Now, I will just say, and I can't speak for Charles, but our reviews are 180 degrees apart on this one film. And it was Charles's reaction was vitriol, was so kind of like magnified that I actually did something that as a rule, I typically would not do with a film critic. I called him up and went, bro, you having a bad week? Because every movie you are reviewing this week, you are killing every movie. So it gets to a point where you can not like movies, but if you have a strong reaction to a slate of movies in a week, either you going through some stuff and somebody needs to talk to you, or you falling out of love with movies and like nothing works, or it's just maybe it's a bad week for movies. So I had to check in with my brother to find out where he was. So I'll say all that to say that I thought, in my opinion, that this Space Jam, because of the technology, because I think that Michael Jordan really never was a good actor at all. And he was in Space Jam, but they didn't really ask him to do anything. And he was sort of kind of wooden. I think LeBron James, who has been in front of cameras, has done media and has done commercials and things of that nature, I felt that he was much more comfortable in front of the camera. The story is, almost the same story as the first one. So it's not about that element working. I thought the comedic elements that Malcolm Lee brought to it, I thought that worked well. I thought Don Cheadle had probably the most fun he's had making a movie or any project probably since Black Monday. I thought the whole thing with the two halves of the game, because I don't want to really spoil it for people who haven't seen it. I thought because I was laughing in the theater, I was like, now, see, that's a run. When people talk about in basketball, we going on a run. In Space Jam, that's a run. When you see the movie, you'll see what I'm talking about. Tim Gordon, liked this movie more than I thought I would. I gave it a B. All right, so I was like, so wait a minute. I gave the movie a B. I thought the movie was fun. I thought, I look at these movies, and Wilson and I have talked offline that movies are made for two reasons in this business, right? Some are made for commerce. These are popcorn movies. These are movies that we're going to make that are never going to be award winners, but they're going to be movies that are solid performers. They'll be entertaining. No story is original, so it'll give you what you need to pass an hour and a half, 2 hours of time, right? So for me, it works. Charles Kirkland, because Wilson, we're going to go to you last because you're the tiebreaker. Charles, what did you think about Space Jam, and articulate what you think about this film?
Okay, so first let me just say that I think I was set up in the first way going to see this film because I was instructed to go to one theater, and then I had to go 30 minutes away to another theater to actually see the film.
That was my fault. I gave him the wrong theater, Wilson. So basically what you're hearing is the excuse that he was mad, and instead of taking it out on me, he took it out on the film.
No, I'm not going to say that either. I am going to say that I don't think the film was that great. I called it an unfunny children's movie because there were, I think, 2 times in the whole movie where I actually even chuckled, and so yeah, I gave it a D. Because I thought it was not entertaining. I thought it was not fun. It was, and I felt so bad after Tim called me about my review. I was like, well, maybe I am going through something because I've seen another stinker movie before that I had to check in. I was like, look, I need y'all to sit down and watch this movie with me. And I sat down with a group of my family and friends, and I said, y'all tell me what you think of this movie. And down the line, they're like, nah, it's not really that great. It's not really that good. So, I feel justified in the fact that I graded it low. Maybe I went a little far in saying a D, but I really thought the movie was not funny. It was not entertaining. It was way too long. And so, I was not impressed by Space Jam. Now, I'll also mention that I have a personal bias, because one of my men was excluded from this movie, and so I was not happy that they did my boy, they did my boy like that and cut him out of the film. So maybe I had a little bit of extra vitriol just on a personal bias, but I thought the movie wasn't that great.
All right, before we get to Wilson Morales, let me just
wait a minute. And also, I've seen LeBron do better acting jobs in other movies. So, yeah, I thought his acting was not that great.
Okay, before we get to Wilson, I will just say that the ramifications of what we just discussed between the two of us, Wilson, is that on the FilmGordon site, right, is Charles's review. I shoot Charles's review out with the tagline that Charles just repeated. I thought it was an unfunny children's movie. All the response I got back yesterday, and literally all day yesterday, was, dang, Tim, for real? Wow. I'm like, man, I didn't write it. Charles Kirkland, I didn't do it. So having said that, Wilson Morales, what are your thoughts on Space Jam?
I don't think this is fair because Wilson is never going to give a movie a bad grade. He's never going to do it.
No, Wilson's given bad grades on movies before.
Here's the thing. The Michael Jordan version was never that great. Obviously it's a vanity project. And, honestly, it's all of Warner Brothers family in that movie. 25 years later, Warner Brothers did it again. This movie has like 30 writers. You know what I'm saying? And that's when the movie has that many writers. Like, there's something wrong here. Like, one person can't get it right. And it's almost like somebody's telling them, like, getting notes like, oh, you got to include Batman and Robin. Or you got to include Bugs Bunny. What about Lola? What about Daffy? What about his kids? And it became so much of a product placement. And then you have LeBron James. And granted, it's almost like, okay, one of the things, and I did interviews for this, is like, you got thespians in here working with LeBron James, and I gotta ask, how many takes did you have to do before he got it right? He's in terms of acting, like, this is the one and only time you're gonna see LeBron James act. It's like they're big, and they got too technical on me. There was a moment in there where I was like, can somebody hand me a cappuccino? Because I'm fading. And then there were moments during the game where it's like it started to pick up. But by the time you get to the game, you're like almost a little bit worn out. You're almost a little bit worn out. You're like, okay, come on, folks. Bring it home. I would say I was mixed on it. I think for today's generation, because LeBron James is the big man, and like Tim had mentioned, he's been doing and been seen in commercials, whereas Jordan didn't do as many, I think, when it came out. Maybe it's so with Spike Lee, and so, like, LeBron is, he's a much more marketable name in a way than Jordan, And you also have other NBA players in here, playing, the animated goon characters in there. And you got Zendaya. So, in a way, you have a lot of advertisement, in this movie to sell. And like Tim would say, the story, it is what it is. It's like, we just, like, don't care. It's like, let's see, apparently from what, we're talking breaking news, people are actually coming to the theaters to see this because it's doubling its potential, what experts said it was going to make, So at the end of the day, the responses may not be that great. I'm seeing it's got a 31% on Rotten Tomatoes, but an 82% audience score,
So Wilson, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I think we've got about maybe 12 minutes left, which leads us to a larger discussion. And I'm not being funny. I remember, and I wish Travis was here, Travis Hobson, who's a colleague of ours, and I got into almost an argument at a movie theater. We were leaving. It was some January release. I can't remember what the name of the movie was. And I explained to Travis that early in the year, as a rule, if you go back and study historically over the last 20, 25 years, the worst movies of the year are traditionally released like in the first 3 months of the year, right? That's where the studios routinely back up the trucks to the theaters, hit the button, and all of the trash that they have kind of falls out the back. And then we have to sit there and watch it all, films like The Hottie and the Naughty back in the day. And Freddie Got Fingered. I mean, like a lot, I can name you just traditionally, like a lot of these bad nights where I was in theaters in February on a cold night, like, why are we here? Why is this movie even screening? So I say all that to say that Travis and I got into the discussion because I'm like, man, I grade these movies on a curve early in the year, right? Because I know that they're going to be bad. And if it was up to me, I would have to trash every movie a la Charles Kirkland, right? When we get to the summertime, these films are in the summer for a particular reason. They're popcorn movies. They're movies. Families are out. They've got their kids. Disney movies, Jungle Cruise, all of these F9. That's basically what these movies are about, right? So I say all that to say that I am always, what's the word? What's the best word I can, maybe befuddled with my critic colleagues who look at some of these movies sometimes. And as I told Charles, it's Space Jam, bruh. What are you expecting out of Space Jam? Space Jam is not Pixar. Space Jam is, you know what I'm saying? You're going into Space Jam with this expectation. You saw the first one. You know what Space Jam is. What are you expecting? Wilson, you're talking about the movie gets too technical. What was it the first time? It's Space Jam. I'm like, what? Why? Am I the only one who has seen this?
Let me say this, Tim. Because there was another movie that came out called Gunpowder Milkshake.
Gunpowder. Well, yeah. Well, you're right about that one.
I'm gonna say, I enjoyed Gunpowder Milkshake for what it was. It was an action film, and it just went from action to action.
It made no sense. It made no sense. It was just a dumb story.
Story's no good. But
Wilson, did you like Gunpowder Milkshake?
So Say what?
No, I was asking Wilson, did he like Gunpowder Milkshake?
Not really.
Okay, no. Charles went off on that movie.
But what I'm saying is, if Space Jam had just gotten to the basketball game, I could have appreciated a whole lot more. But they did so much more with so much other junk. I wanted to see, get me to the basketball game. Once you got to the basketball game, it's great.
Yeah, but the point is,
great, but it's good.
Well, wait a minute, Charles. Let me jump in. Hold on a second, because I'm gonna let you finish. But you got to remember about the Space Jam formula, right? The Space Jam formula, and they've done it in both movies, right? And they'll do it again in 2046 when the next hot NBA basketball player is starring in Space Jam. It's usually an advertisement for whoever this star is. So we had to watch Michael Jordan in all his glory, going into retirement. In the first one, we watched LeBron James in all his glory. We get this little kind of faded backstory about who they were, and then we see them as these stars, and then suddenly they get sucked into this cartoon world. And what is Space Jam all about is that you have to integrate the Bugs Bunnies, the Daffy Ducks, and all these toon characters. Then there's usually an adversary. So you just can't go from the beginning of the movie to the basketball game. You got to put about 45 minutes to an hour of stuff in the middle, even before you get there. And that's in both movies. So if you guys, like Wilson is saying, man, once it got to the game, it got better. Sure, it got better because you had to sit through a bunch of junk to get from this point. So think of my hands right here, right? This is the basketball game. This is the beginning of the movie. All this stuff in between is all the stuff that nobody who's a critic wants to watch. You want to watch this. So my point is that I'm not being funny, and for people at home watching this, I'm not trying to give a technical class on how to review movies, but I'm trying to give people in my community, in my film critic community, that sometimes we get puffed up with our ability to have a voice and a stage that we talk to people. Like I listen to Wilson sometimes on movies that I disagree with him. I'll be like, come on, Wilson, you doing way too much, man. This movie is this. You want this movie to be that. And I'm like, no, dude, this is this. And when Charles broke down Gunpowder Milkshake, I hadn't seen it yet. So when I read his review, I was like, dang, Charles is going in on Gunpowder Milkshake. And then when I watched it, I went, yeah, he's pretty much right. this movie has no story, but go ahead, Wilson.
I was gonna say, we're getting to a point where, like, as much as we want to see movies come back, and it's almost like, sometimes we see these movies because they have a name or so that, deserves respect for us to be interested in, and then it's like, really, like, come on, folks, make a movie. Don't just throw stuff out there just because it goes back to the 30 films. I mean, the 15 films they're celebrating the 30th anniversary. Those were events. Those is what you wanted to see. Now we got a glut of movies that's like, is this something I want to check out? Like, there are names, but what's the story? It's like I'm gonna start looking into, like, well, what's his writing credits like? You know what I'm saying?
Bro, look, bro. There's a movie coming out, and Wilson, you might know which movie I'm talking about. They sent me a screener a couple of weeks ago. This movie has 3 Oscar winners in it, and it is horrible.
I think I know what
you know what movie I'm talking about? Because they delayed it. It was supposed to be coming out like either this weekend or next weekend, and then I just got an email. We're delaying it indefinitely. And I watched it here, and I'm telling you, nobody in my house could stay awake through this movie. I mean, nobody stayed awake. We all woke up like, oh my God, it's still on? Wilson, 3 Oscar winners. Excuse me, am I correct? She put her thumb up.
So y'all went to sleep and came back to the movie, huh?
Yeah, you get to the point where like, yo, it's like,
I'm just trying to tell you, man, that in this
don't go
game,
Nicolas Cage on me. It's like, don't start making movies out of the blue. And like, think about it. At the end of the day, it's like there are people that are like, you know what, you are a good action star. Now your joint is on Tubi. You know what I'm saying?
Dude,
now
look,
your joint is on like.
People walk up to you, and I'm sure they walked up to you and Charles as well and said, you know, oh, what do you do? And you say, I'm a film critic. And they go, oh my God, that's such a cool job. And I'm like, nah, not really. Because people associate being a movie critic with them being able to watch all the movies they like. They don't associate it with having to watch all the movies and then having to wade through stuff. So my point is, so I guess the greater point, we've got 5 minutes to go, is that I think it's a much larger conversation that I think sometimes, you know, and I'm trying to think of what's the best way to say it. You got to understand going in what you're looking at, man. I went to a screening of a film yesterday, which was a remake of a movie that I'm an embargo from even saying what it is. But let's just say I can't wait to talk about this movie because I saw the first one. And the fact that they were able to come back and make another one, and it was almost, the story wasn't the same, but the fact that this one is so much more vibrant than the first one was, and it was, and some of the same, there's something to be said about a vision of a director, right? If you got a director that has a vision and he's able to take that vision and execute it on screen, that's why we fall in love with movies, you know. Wilson, you and I have talked about a film like New Jack City, right? New Jack City is a movie that's 30 years old now.
30 years old.
New Jack City resonates because Mario Van Peebles, and I forget the brother who wrote the film, but Michael something Cooper or Michael Cooper.
I think it was Doug Henry. Oh no, he was a producer.
He's a producer, but I'm saying the reason why that movie resonates so much, man, is because Wesley Snipes was fantastic, right? They had a vision. They told a story. It was very vibrant. It had supporting characters. It had music, mood. It had all the stuff you want. And yet there are white critics that I know who probably don't even know what New Jack City is. And Wilson, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Like, wait, that's a niche film. I didn't
you know, it's kind of funny because we always know their films, whether or not we saw it or not. Even for the most part, we probably have not seen their film, but we know about it.
We know their film.
We know their film. We say, yo, you know, New Jack City, 5 Harpies. Nah, I never heard of it.
We had Brandon Phibbs on this show last week, one of my dear friends. And Brandon, I brought up one time, man, you know, you've seen Shaft, right? He's like, what is Shaft? I'm like, you've never heard of Shaft?
Yeah. Even if you haven't seen it, you're going to tell me you know cinema, but you don't know black cinema to the point that you don't know what we know. Whereas we know every one of your bad movies.
We not only know every one of your bad movies, but we're watching movies from Latinx community. We're watching movies that are maybe European. You know, I sit here like, you know, I was showing my significant other a couple of days. I said, man, one of the movies I fell in love with was back in 2013 was The Great Beauty. And you can go online and watch The Great Beauty. Great Beauty is an Italian film. Film should never be about ethnicity. Film should be about film. And that's one of the things that has always kind of burned my britches. And even I tease Wilson about it sometimes because Wilson runs black film and TV, but Wilson watches movies. Wilson just doesn't watch all the black movies, which he does, but he watches all the movies. Charles Kirkland, I know, watches all the movies. And I think that we have this label, Wilson, when we walk in the room and they go, oh yeah, you the black guy. Yeah, I'm a black guy who happens to watch movies. I don't watch movies by color. I watch movies. So yeah, man. But you know, like I said, man, we got about a minute to go. I am thankful for the expertise that is on this show on a weekly basis. Even though I tease Wilson, I have a great deal of respect that I think he is one of the best working journalists, not black journalists, one of the best journalists working in the game. I see his stuff all over the place. That brother hustles, man. Wilson, I don't know how the hell you do it. You got a real job too? Damn.
You know, if I can make it happen, you know, like I said, I went to the premiere party for Power Kanan, and It was a '90s attire. There were, and since there was no premiere.
Wait a minute, stop. We never got a picture of your attire. I saw everybody else's attire. Where's your attire?
Now, it was there. I wore a Chicago Bulls jersey representing the '90s.
Wow, that was wow. No, you didn't put on no crisscross, no.
Where's your Kango hat?
Yeah, no Kango. Man, I told you could have dressed like Radio Raheem.
When you're trying to find retro stuff, the last thing you want to do is like, oh, we got that Kango. It's classic. I can give it to you at a discount for $80. I'm like, I'm good.
Man, let me get out of here, man. As we tell you guys in close. Oh, I'm sorry. Wilson, where can people read your content, man?
You can find it over at blackfilmandtv.com. Go to, same thing on Instagram, and then the same thing for Twitter.
And Charles Kirkland, where can they read your amazingly incendiary reviews?
I'm setting fire to the internet on FilmGordon.com, and all other musings are on the DC Film Life.
And as we tell you guys in closing every week, please see something good at the movies. You've got three very different opinions about Space Jam. I'm gonna go turn it on right now, watch it again, man, because Malcolm Lee is my dude, and he's Wilson's dude. I guess Malcolm Lee, punch Charles in the face when you see him next time.
Go for the throat.
You guys take care, man. I'll see you guys next week, man.
All right, take care.
All right.